Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hanoi. We are in the city center. Emma wasn't feeling that well today, so I'm kind of taking a day tour myself. I want to see the Hanoi Hilton, the prison museum, and then also the other big military museum. I heard it's massive. It's supposed to be pretty awesome, so we're gonna grab a coffee somewhere. It doesn't open until 9 o'clock. We're gonna head in there, see what we find, and then we'll hit up the other museum. So it's basically just a day of sightseeing museums, maybe stopping for coffee or a beer, and seeing where we go from there. Check this out, guys. It's a beautiful statue of a rose. Looks like this guy's gonna mess up the view. I know he's watering the plants, but it's pretty beautiful. It's a huge rose petal. But they take care of the yards out here. It's very nice in the parks here. We have located our coffee. We're gonna have an Americano, a little spot to hang out at. Faces the garden over there. Okay, guys, we got the coffee in us. Hopefully the caffeine hits. We're gonna need it because we're gonna be doing a lot of walking today. So we are roughly 1.1 kilometers away from the Hanoi prison. We're gonna make our way through the city, get there. It'll be just in time. It just now opened at 9 o'clock, so we're making good time. And it's not extremely hot out. It actually feels pretty decent. This actually has a crosswalk here that you could actually utilize. A lot of places you just basically walk and you don't stop and just pray that nobody hits you. That's kind of the way it goes when you're in Hanoi downtown. But we got a green light, so let's go and pray for the best and another successful street crossing. It's people just sitting on chairs, having tea, having coffee, kicking off their day. No shortage of scooters, motorbikes in Hanoi, that's for sure. There's more scooters than there are people here, actually. This guy's just chilling. I like his energy. We're in there, we are 110 meters away. We made it. One ticket, please.
Yeah, 50,000 for one ticket, please.
Okay. If you're enjoying the journey with us, hit that subscribe button and follow us along for the rest of our adventures. Originally built by the French in 1896, it was used to imprison Vietnamese political rebels fighting for independence. Walking through the narrow corridors, you'll see life-size statues of prisoners, old photographs, and powerful testimonies that bring back this past life. The conditions were brutal: overcrowded cells, shackles, and even a guillotine used for executions. This right here appears to be a prisoner of war, political prisoner trying to escape. They went through the sewage canals, which is incredible because from the pictures and from the mock-ups they have here, they're incredibly small. But you have to imagine these people were so malnourished and so desperate to be free that you'd be willing to do anything, even if it meant going through a hole that a small dog could barely get. So here's the cell. It appears that this couple here was held. The museum offers two sides of history, the suffering of Vietnamese under colonial rule and the carefully curated experience of American POWs during the war. Among the most well-known was Senator John McCain. His flight suit is still on display here. Very sombering. Can't even imagine the atrocities that went on here. These were American pilots and soldiers, people captured from political warfare, captured far from home, forced to endure years of brutal conditions and constant interrogation. Some survived, some never left. Walking through these cells, it's impossible not to feel their desperation, ending through every brick. If you're visiting Hanoi, the Halo isn't just a stop, it's a lesson. We have made it to the military museum, and I'll tell you what, this place is massive. Look at the size of this building. So I guess we'll start with the outside because they have some airplanes, tanks, and trucks and all that good stuff. Look at this monument, how high it goes here. So let's start from the outside and we'll work our way in. There's one thing I love being a veteran, it's anything military. You got respect for all military, all countries, defending their homeland. So let's see, got a half track here. This is where it's a truck in the front, but then it's got tank wheels in the back. Tank tracks, I should say. Got a 50 cal mounted over there. Have some cannons here. Look at these bad boys. You don't think this artillery couldn't do some damage? But sure they did. It's a U.S. Air Force plane, probably one that went down or was captured. U.S. Navy. These things were death traps, but in the day, that's all you had to work with. Another U.S. Army artillery. Here's the armored personnel carrier. So you would see the driver would be sticking his head right up about here. And then all the guys that would be in here, it'd be a small little platoon. They would all be crammed in the back of this thing, and that door would drop, come out and handle business. M48 tank. Tell you what, thank God, the weather is pretty decent. Now here's what you would see all over in Vietnam during the war, Hueys. These things were super reliable. They would fly in troops, medevac troops out, get shot up. I mean, it's crazy. These were really the biggest workhorse in the Vietnam War. And this looks like a fighter jet from the U.S. Air Force. It would drop one of many bombs that would come down over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, all over Cambodia. And this is an old school version of the Chinook. This main job for this thing was to carry troops as well. Sometimes they would get supplies in there, but this was mainly to move troops. Could move a decent sized force here. You could probably cram 40 to 50 men there. Hello. How are you? Good. And this appears to be just pieces and remnants of all kinds of military aircraft and engines and everything they could just piece together, the junk that probably crashed and burned when they were shot down. So yeah, some had some brutal fate when heading out on a mission. They did not return. During the Vietnam War, there's probably more people that didn't want to be in that war than there was that did. And so that's how we kind of came to a demise. Is this war we had no business being in. And for obviously political reasons and all that nonsense, we ended up being stuck in it way longer than we should have. Much I like the Iraq and Afghanistan war, the ones that I was in. There is just no good that comes from war ever. I don't know if people, humanity will ever understand that, because it can't go on forever. And in the end, what are you left with? You know, it's a question for the masses. But the way the world has worked for as long as it's been around, some people always want to seek power. So now it appears we're going on the side of Vietnamese. Their weapons, their trucks, their aircraft, their tanks. Let's see what they were working with. It wasn't much, but the strength and the resolve of the Vietnamese, specifically the Viet Cong, was very strong. Proved to be true warriors, true fighters. It was a war that could not be won. And it took America too long to figure that out, unfortunately. Here we see some of the torpedo tube. Imagine what came out of that damn thing. Let's see what's over here. We got a PT-76 tank, manufactured by the Soviet Union. So that's where Vietnam got most of its warfighting materials. Obviously supported by the Soviet Union. They're still in communism. They still believe in it. This is what you call a T-54 Bravo tank, also manufactured by the Soviet Union. This is a T-34 tank. To be kind of similar. Again, imagine being stuck in these things. I mean, talk about a death trap. What you see right here is the anti-aircraft. Several guys would be sitting in these seats here, and they would be aiming, looking for the aircraft that's inbound and fire anti-aircraft artillery. Hell of a job. They had to move quick, sight in the aircraft in the sky miles away, and let her rip. 57mm anti-aircraft gun. You're a pilot. You did not want to see these on the ground because you knew your ass was in trouble. Here's another one, a little bit smaller, more maneuverable. 37mm. This would be great for helicopters. The Hueys that would be coming in. These things would be hidden in the tree lines where you wouldn't be able to see them as well. And they come in on the landing zone and they would just let it rip. And they were very successful. Here we got some trucks that would probably just move supplies and move troops. Massive artillery. This would definitely be used to zero in bases, forward operating bases. They'd lob a big old cannon over there and hope it landed on base. It did a lot of death and destruction. Used as often, but still lethal. And here's another tank that actually has an anti-aircraft gun mounted to it. This would fire mortars in the base, often from the tree lines again. Anywhere you'd see a group of troops, you'd zero them in using the compass, longitude, latitude, find the destination, you'd adjust it from the height, how far the distance you wanted to travel. No, I'm just kidding, but it looks like it was, huh? So now we finished the outside. We're gonna head indoors. This museum is massive. I'm not sure how it compares to other military museums, but I believe it's one of the biggest. Get back to you on the facts about that, but let's get inside, suck some air conditioning, because it is humid. It's not hot, but the humidity definitely makes you sweat. You know, being a veteran myself, I've done and watched a lot of war history. I'm always fascinated about why war began, the politics of it, seeing both sides, kind of the propaganda that's pushed to make troops believe to fight in the wars that they fight in. And it's always fascinated me to figure out what motivates soldiers and how easily you could be manipulated in a time of war to feel like you're defending your country for all the right reasons. And then maybe years later, if not shorter, find out that it wasn't what you thought it was. And that's kind of a shame. They always say the men in the suits kill the boys in the boots. So let's get in here and see what we come across. What I didn't expect, which you could probably hear, is there is about 1 million children here, and they could probably care less about what they're seeing. But they are acting like it's a massive playground, so it's a little bit distracting when you're trying to read up on the history and see everything, but we'll try to get as much as we can without getting a massive headache. This was an American pilot's helmet that was shot down, captured. This is everything he had on him. Poor bastard. Who knows what his fate was. Standard issue gear a pilot would carry just in case he did survive the plane crash. As you can see here, even the women participated. All people were part of the revolution. There's a poor prisoner of war. She stands proud and firm. Here's another standard issue pilot's uniform. Another victim to the anti-aircraft artillery. Here's the wreckage of a B-52 bomber shot down. What I've been noticing, I see a lot of, is there's a lot of Vietnamese pride in the military and their endeavors and the wars they created. Everyone's standing with the Vietnamese flag in front of all these old remnants of the war, showing their pride for their country and how proud they were in their success in defeating the Americans. It's quite the same in the U.S. A lot of pride for your country, a lot of pride for the military that sacrificed their lives. It makes it interesting for an American to be walking in here and everyone's giving me looks like, oh, this guy right here. But what can you do? It's interesting to learn about war history, no matter which side you're on. Thank God there's peace now. Hopefully we never relive those days again. So far what I've noticed too is I'm the only white person here. But yeah, there's no other tourists from different locations, at least any white tourists saying American. So I'm definitely catching some interesting looks. No one's been mean or anything like that, but it's probably interesting what's going on through their head when they see me with this camera documenting the war history. Now we're in the older version of you see, it's full of children. Hello, how are you? You say hello? Hello. You enjoying the museum? You like?
What's your name?
John. John, what's your name?
My
Ming. Nice to meet you. Hello. Okay. Bye-bye. That's one thing I love. I will say the kids of Vietnam are the sweetest, most intuitive, curious, friendly, happy, so eager to talk and just say hello. It's very gratifying to be in a communist country where we had differences at one point many decades ago, and you get a lot of love from all the youngsters. So there's hope for the future, and maybe our ties between America and the United States and Vietnam can become even stronger and better. So that wraps up our tour of the Vietnam Military Museum, where there's over 150,000 artifacts here, which you could go in this place forever, but I tried to cover as much as I could. They go through every century, decades, all the historic value from every war, every battle. It was very informative, and it's a beautiful museum. That'll wrap up. We're out of here. Hello. How are you? What's your name?
History lives on in these walls and artifacts, reminding us that every side has its pain, its pride, and its lessons. If this journey moved you, hit that like button, share it, and subscribe for more raw stories from places that people only read about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep adventuring, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.